Hi, thank you so much for clicking on my channel. My name is Catie Brandon, and this is Dark Times with Catie. If you have been a subscriber for quite a while, I appreciate you. And thank you for your patience of me constantly, editing and doing all the things. And if you're just now joining me, welcome. Welcome. I talk mostly about dark content. You may know me from Tea Time True Crime with Catie on TikTok, as well as other podcasts. I realize that I talk about way more than true crime, but in this podcast, we're going to talk about a true crime case. So if this is going to be rough, it's a trigger warning. This is one of those cases that stumbled upon me. And the wild thing is that 4th of July is just around the corner. And this is an Independence Day massacre case. So when you see the sign behind me that says trigger warning, yes, I love it. It's a wood burning that says trigger warning. It was a amazing product from Jenny Allen, who is an author of Jenny Allen books. Definitely check her out. But I digress. If this is something you are fascinated with, you like my voice, well, you know what to do. Like, comment, and share. We're going to talk about the Kunz family 4th of July massacre. All right. Now, you guys know when I have a soft spot for certain cases, right? I just mentioned that. I believe this one has not gotten enough media attention. It's kind of wild. It's like a horror movie. Someone said it may be based on an X-Files episode called Home. I don't know. I didn't check that out yet, but I like to see people's reaction to the case I'm talking about. Now, have you ever sit there and the cases that you thought about, you're wondering, well, man, how come I never heard of this? Tonight, it's one of those stories. So we're going to go way back, guys. In 1987 in Athens, Wisconsin. All right. It was a tiny town. The population at the time was just over 1,000 people. The kind of place where everyone knows each other's names. The kind of place where people wave when they pass by. And yes, I'm a waver. I always wave at people. I know people look at me like I'm insane. Like, do I know her? I will wave to you because we are human. So, all right. Now, July 4th, 1987, picture it. It is the 4th of July. People are lighting fireworks. Kids are running around. Families are grilling out, right? Hot dogs. Love hot dogs. So let me know down in the comments below, what's your favorite cookout food? Just curious. It is supposed to be one of the happiest weekends of the year. But, while everyone is celebrating, something absolutely horrific is happening inside, a farmhouse in Athens, Wisconsin. Now, when authorities arrived, they discovered multiple members of the Kunz family had been murdered. And the scene was violent. It was personal. It was an execution. And investigators, as soon as they stumbled upon the scene, they were like, this was not a random crime. Whoever did this was not passing through. Whoever did this, definitely not a stranger. Well, the case does get strange, actually. There's one family member, Helen Kunz, was missing. Think about that for a second. Imagine being an investigator. You've just walked into one of the worst crime scenes you've ever seen, and one person isn't there. Well, this lady's 70 years old. Did she run? Was she taken? Was she hiding? And nobody knew. So days passed, more time has passed, and I know, guys, it's weird because babies come out in 9 months. I don't know, just a coincidence, honestly. But 9 months later, Helen was finally found. She was dead. And this is the part that has haunted this case for decades. This is why people are wondering, I don't think this is right. I don't even know if we got the killer. I think somebody was wrongly accused. So questions remained exactly how she died. And remember, they didn't find her for 9 months, and she was like by a swamp. So because of the exposure to the weather, animals, even wind, they could not really tell how she died. She couldn't tell if she was beaten. She knew she was shot. You can definitely tell because there was a bullet inside her body. But there was nothing else. Especially later on in the story, in this case, you will hear like a he said, she said situation that would ruin someone's life forever. Now, one thing I've noticed is that cases like this aren't always like the biggest ones. They're the ones that leave families like waiting for answers, just waiting for justice. Honestly, waiting for someone to tell the truth. Because somebody knows something, especially in a town this small where everybody knows each other's name. So investigators were called to the scene, of course. They started interviewing people. And then all of a sudden, rumors started to spread through the community. And there's all kinds of theories, guys, even to this day. Some people believe that the killer was someone the family knew because there was no forced entry. Others wondered if there was more than one person involved. I mean, to kill multiple people, it could be 2 people involved, 2 shooters. But unfortunately, guys, theories do not solve murders. Evidence does. So despite of decades of this investigation, no one has ever been convicted of the killings. Nearly 40 years later, no one has been convicted. And the family, who was like massacred, still don't have any answers. Yeah. No one has ever had to answer for what they've done so far. As I'm doing this podcast, I love to hear this podcast. I cannot talk, guys. Menstrual brain, forgive me. Now, do you think someone has literally just stayed silent all these years? Or do you think the crime scene was just mixed up with people's things? Like a cover-up, right? People are talking about there's some like cover-up stuff going on and framing. And yeah, it's insane. So the Kunz family had very deep roots in Marathon County, Wisconsin. So it was inside of Athens. This family worked really hard. They lived a very quiet life on their farm. People would describe them as like recluse. They never really left their house, and their clothes were even outdated. They did not have running water, and then they did not have heat. But they did have cable, because in that home, what the police found were nothing but adult videotapes strewn around downstairs and even in the VCR. Also, adult magazines as well. Weird, right? Now, concern began to grow when people were unable to reach the Kunz family. It wasn't like them to disappear without, like anyone. Now, what happened was that Kenny worked at the cheese factory in Wisconsin. I know, right? Perfect. Now, Kenny is older. Kenny came home, he said, around 5 a.m. and slept in his truck. Yeah, he got to the house at like 5 a.m. and he walked into a complete massacre of his loved ones executed in the home. And then he realized that he couldn't find his mama, which was Helen. And he searched everywhere, called the police. And yes, you're probably thinking, well, wasn't he the main suspect? He was. But he had an ironclad alibi. So he quickly was off the suspect list. Now, there was so many unanswered questions. News spread quickly through the small farming community. People began to lock their doors. Even to this day, this crime has affected that little community, even many, many years later. There were search efforts for Helen. Like I said, 9 months later is when she turned up. And again, it was just more questions. They didn't understand. Between the 9 months, someone actually thought Helen had something to do with it. Because before she went to buy a firearm and she said to I can't say arms dealer, but for the guy who was selling the, I guess it's artillery, right? I don't know. I don't really buy guns, so I apologize if I'm saying it wrong. So let's just say where you buy guns, and the guy, sold her the gun. He asked, well, what do you want the gun for? She said to kill blackbirds. But then she also mentioned how she was tired of her family watching like adult videos all day. It doesn't make sense, because these people who were executed were like old. You had Randy in his 30s, you had Helen 70, you had Clarence older. It's unreal. It's heartbreaking. Yeah, I don't know if you guys understand how weird this is. Not only they're playing adult videotapes and adult magazines are everywhere, which I feel like it's like a frame job, because who would watch? I don't know. I don't want to yuck anyone's yum, but Clarence Kunz was 76. Irene Kunz was 81. Randy Kunz was 30. Marie Kunz was 72. And Helen Kunz was 70. Do you really think older people are just all day watching adult videos with each other? Yeah, I don't mean to put that in your head, but I mean... And there's also weird rumors about the town, which unfortunately the reason why this case I feel like has not gotten the light that it deserved. I mean, not really light, but there was rumors of incest. Yes. Helen was apparently sexually assaulted by a neighbor when she was 15, and she had Kenny. Now, it is rumored that her brother Clarence was the son of Kenny. This is something that can all be done with DNA. I mean, this happened in 1987. I wish we can do it now. But this family seemed very quiet and reserved and reclusive. So I'm not sure anybody like from the outside of the family wants DNA done, or they just want it to all go away. Which honestly, I think this case needs way more answers. I mean, it just doesn't make sense at all. When I first heard about this case and was researching, I was thinking what a lot of you guys thought. Robbery gone wrong. These are elderly people. These are easy pickings. They're vulnerable. They have money. Because remember, the guy worked at a Wisconsin cheese factory or something like that. That was Kenny. And he was the only one that actually brought income in. Everyone else lived on Social Security. Over 20 grand was found in the house by police investigators. 20 grand. It probably was more than that, because you had 5 people living there, and they lived there, I believe, for more than 8 years. And they don't really go anywhere. So I don't know if they cashed the checks but there was more than 20 grand found in the house. That's why people are confused about the robbery. Like, you go and gun down everybody, but yet you don't take the money. That's why a lot of people think it's very personal. They don't think it was a robbery. So people believed that the rumors may have been true of incest. And that's really a huge, dangerous, thing of unsolved cases, because if there's no arrests, no conviction, speculation always fills the silence. Now, you're probably wondering, well, I heard this guy named Christopher Jacobs did it. He did it, Catie, Now, Christopher Jacobs was 21 years old. And when the police were interviewing the family, and they were like, well, do you guys know anybody who knew the family? And Kenny knew. You also can think about, is this drugs? But the problem with that is that there was no drugs in the home. So drugs was not even police didn't know. There was 20 grand still in that home. So let me backtrack. So Christopher Jacobs was like this, not very, the police didn't think kindly to him. Not that he was, I was going to say a horrible monster, because we don't know, because like I said, but he was 21 years old, and he was charged, excuse me. Oh, should I drink some water? Excuse me. He was charged with petty theft crimes. Now, if he was charged with petty theft crimes, okay, why didn't he steal the money after murdering all the people? Why did he grab Helen and drive her so far away? It was like 18 miles, 20 miles, right by a swamp, and kill her there. It doesn't make sense. Well, investigators, the first trial, Christopher Jacobs, like I said, petty crimes, was not really liked by the police force. He was charged because he bought a vehicle from the Kunzes, and investigators thought when he went inside the home, even though it was very decrepit and kind of like hoarder vibes, and there is no heat or running water, I was told. I was like, what? But they have cable. So if they have cable, they definitely have electricity. So, investigators believe that when Chris was buying the vehicle, he saw all the cash there and thought it would be easy pickings, because those people are vulnerable. They're elderly. The only person who wasn't elderly was Randy. But I was looking into Randy's background, and they said that he was like a small town drug dealer. But when you're in a very small, poverty-stricken town where you're just trying to survive, you can get on the bad side of drug dealers, and there have been cases where drug dealers are so mad that they come and then just kill everyone in the house. But like the authorities said, I will once again reiterate, there were no drugs found in the home, just adult tapes and a whole bunch of cash. So it kind of sounds like a hotel party rather than, than like a family gathering. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. But the first time Chris was on trial, now they only had circumstantial evidence for him. There was no direct evidence for him at the crime. There wasn't. He had the same shell casings as the guns that were used to kill the Kunz family. That's in their room. Okay, I'm thinking that a lot of people may own those types of guns, especially in that kind of area. And number two, they said the tire tracks were there on the farm, but you don't know when they were there. If that place is so isolated and it didn't rain for a while, those tracks are going to stay there for a while. All right. So that was the two main evidence. And there was just one more, and it shouldn't have sticked. In fact, it's all circumstantial evidence, nothing direct tied to the case. The first case between Christopher Jacobs III and the Kunz family was Christopher Jacobs was acquitted of all charges. It was, people thought, oh my gosh, you let a murderer go free. Excuse me. I learned that when you talk a lot and like you yawn, you're getting so much air in your body, which makes sense. I've been talking a lot. This is like, me recording this over and over. So anyway, so when I yawn, guys, I'm not bored. I'm not like, oh, here we go. No, it's not like that. I think I'm just getting so much air that it makes me yawn. So I do apologize, my rudeness. Not trying to. It's a bodily function. Okay. The first time Christopher Jacobs, like I said, he was acquitted. Then in 1993, his ex-girlfriend, get this, his ex-girlfriend Stacy went on the stand and said on the stand that her boyfriend at the time, Chris, drove her to the murder sites and said that he murdered the Kunz family. She said that to make him feel like a man, he assaulted the 7-year-old woman, Kunz. Again, this is he said, she said stuff. And Stacy had a robbery charge on her. So investigators believe that she was trying to get off, to get a slap on the wrist and not go to jail for the robbery charge by bringing down her ex. Well, unfortunately, she brought him down. Yeah. With the circumstantial evidence from years ago, they brought that into account of the he said, she said. Then you're probably thinking, well, Catie, they cannot put him in prison again because of double jeopardy, right? Very good. Very, very good. But prosecution had something up their sleeve. And what it was they decide to charge Chris with the kidnapping of Helen. So when they charged the kidnapping of Helen, in my opinion, they put the murders on him too, even though technically the murders of the Kunzes have never been solved. But he was charged with the kidnapping. And they basically threw him away and locked the key for 30 years. Yeah. It's a long game. The family's gone in 1987, charged in 1993, and then charged 1998, and he didn't get out until 2020. This is where it gets really muddy. So when he is trying to get paroled because he spent over 3 decades in prison, there are two stories. And you guys know the famous saying, there are 3 sides to every story. Their side, the truth. Now, what happened was Chris, well, we don't know actually what happened, because the first answer I heard, you guys, was the first time where Chris honestly didn't want to leave prison. He's been there for 30-something years. Prison life is all he knows. Okay? So he didn't want to leave. Now, the second I heard was that he got out and they quickly put him back in again. And I heard that on a live news broadcast from Wisconsin 6 years ago. And they said, we're like, okay, they are investigating another crime. We will keep you up to date. Well, guess what? I didn't find another date. I don't even know what the heck happened. I honestly don't know. I think when I look at his pictures, I feel like he's innocent. But there's a lot of people that think he is guilty. They think that, they went to go rob them, the Kunzes, but something went horrifically wrong and he had to execute everybody. But if that was the case, why grab Helen? Why grab Helen, okay, and take her away from the home and then kill her there and then leave her body for 9 months? I do not know. Or here's another theory. Now, the theory is this. Helen was fed up with her family. Helen was probably fed up with the abuse, but she's elderly, so this is probably not likely. This is just a theory. Just a theory. Let's say Helen was tired of the abuse, tired of lying, tired of holding all the secrets, tired of seeing adult videos with her family all day. Tired of just being sick and tired. And she snapped. So she goes and buys the gun, or she hires people to go and kill her family. Now, it didn't talk about insurance money, didn't talk about anything like that. Who knows what the motive would be? But then when she didn't have enough, or couldn't find the money, or didn't pay enough, then the killers, the contract killers, grabbed her and took her life. It's a theory. What are you guys thinking? I think there was more than one person that did this crime. When you watch reenactments on YouTube or any kind of ID channel, ironically, they always have two assailants that are robbing and killing the family in the home. One person may have had the gun that killed him, but there could have been someone else who was looking over everything and trying to find things. Christopher Jacobs still holds his innocence, even all this time later. He has never pled guilty for the kidnapped of Helen Kunz, Now, all the evidence was just centered to the Helen's disappearance, okay? Now, the jury, like I said, they convicted him of kidnapping, and like I said, 30-something years for kidnapping is unreal. Unreal. I don't know. It's just one of those cases I can't get out of my head. Like, you're having an amazing time, Independence Day, and all of a sudden your life is gone. Everything you knew. And you're elderly. I don't know. It's just one of those cases that really makes you think. A lot of things don't add up. They don't. Unfortunately, the incest, overshadowed this case. So people didn't really get to see. They only saw about how horrific the Kunz were. They honestly seem like very quiet people, perhaps a little paranoid. They just wanted to be isolated and left alone, and they didn't want to mess with anybody until an outsider came into their midst. But I don't think it was an outsider, though. I feel like it was like a friend of the family. Pardon me. Or one of the family members. But you see why, you see how it's so confusing? They really don't have evidence. They don't know who did it. That somebody was so angry that you just kill, like, the family on 4th of July. Like, one of the most family-friendly weekends of all time, I feel like, is 4th of July, That's a very sad story, and it's kind of insane. Right now, guys, let's just send positive energy to the Kunz family, to the loved ones involved in this case, and I pray that you receive answers someday, because it's horrific. It's really, really horrific. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me tonight. Thank you for being here. It means a lot. If there are any cases that you want me to cover, definitely email me at teatimecb@yahoo.com. Who knows? I may pick your story, and yes, I will give you credit, because that's what I do. No problem there. The next podcast, I'm actually speaking to a survivor of a mass shooting. Ironically, that happened in Wisconsin. So I'm going to get more on that. I'm looking forward to that. But right now I'm researching what questions I can ask that won't trigger him back to PTSD or anything like that. I think what I do is I just go over their home and just record it, and then just get the recording and write it from there. I mean, I would love for him to be a guest, but at the same time, someone who has, survived after all of that heartache. That's resilient right there. So, yeah. Thank you so much, guys, for hanging out with me today. If you're into dark content, give us a like, follow, and share. Please remember, guys, you are loved. You are cherished. And remember, you are doing better than you think.